Welcome to the Deep Dive.
I'm Elia.
And I'm Saul. Today, we're embarking on what feels like a crucial deep dive. We're exploring an Ava Mind blog post about mental health and wellness.
Yeah, this one's titled A Compassionate Guide to Supporting the Grieving.
And it's a topic that, well, pretty much everyone encounters at some point, right?
Absolutely. But supporting a loved one through loss, it feels universal, yet it can also be kind of paralyzing. We all worry about saying or doing the wrong thing.
Exactly. So our mission today is really to pull out the practical stuff, the psychological guidance from this article on how to show up when it really matters.
And specifically looking at the difference between what we think helps versus what the research says actually helps.
Yes, it's all about offering that support without, trying to fix what is inherently painful.
Yeah, you can't fix grief. We'll start by maybe unpacking what grief actually is based on the article.
Okay.
Then we'll get into the more tactical things, what to say, maybe what not to say, practical ways to help out.
Okay, sounds good. Let's unpack this. The blog emphasizes right off the bat that grief isn't just like one single feeling.
No, definitely not. It calls it a complex, deeply personal, emotional landscape.
So if we're trying to support someone, what's maybe the most crucial thing we need to grasp about the grieving process itself?
I think it's the idea that it's not linear. That's huge. Most people know the Kubler-Ross 5 stages, right?
Yep.
Denial, anger.
Bargaining, depression, acceptance. Yeah.
Exactly. But that framework, while it was influential, it's often been misunderstood. People tend to see those stages like steps on a ladder you climb.
Which implies a progression. Like once you hit acceptance, you're sort of done. You've arrived.
Precisely. But, modern research really shows grief is often cyclical or sometimes even chaotic.
So you can bounce around.
Totally. Someone might have a day or even a week feeling surprisingly okay, maybe even accepting. And then boom, the next morning they could be pulled right back into intense anger or deep sadness. It's an ebb and flow, definitely not a checklist.
Mm-hmm.
And as supporters, we just have to understand there isn't really a finish line.
That makes a lot of sense. Because if you expect them to just move steadily forward, you could get frustrated or confused when they seem to slide backward.
Right.
And the impact isn't just emotional, is it? The article mentions the physical and cognitive toll. That must be exhausting.
Exhausting is exactly the word. And that leads to what people call grief fog.
Right.
The article points to research showing grief hits the body and mind really hard. It's not just feeling sad. It's like a systemic stress event for the whole body.
So what does that look like physically? What are the markers?
Well, think about your nervous system just being on high alert constantly. Grief messes with sleep patterns hugely, which then, weakens your immune function. And it seriously limits cognitive focus. The article talks about the brain basically operating under chronic stress.
Wow.
And that's where simple daily tasks like making a meal, paying bills, even just remembering what someone said 5 minutes ago, they become massive hurdles.
So they're not being dramatic or lazy. Their actual biology is compromised.
Exactly. It's physiological.
So, okay, if they're physically and mentally just depleted, it sounds like this awful cycle where just living day to day becomes the hardest part. How much difference does outside support actually make against that kind of weight?
It's absolutely vital. The research mentioned consistently shows social support is one of the maybe least strongest protective factor against really prolonged grief or even grief turning into clinical depression.
So having people around acts like a buffer.
Yeah, a warm, consistent presence doesn't magically erase the pain, obviously, but it cushions the blow. It lessens the weight.
Why is that kind of support often more effective, at least initially, than maybe, say, formal therapy or medication? Is it the immediacy?
It's partly the immediacy, but it also addresses that core psychological wound of loss, which is profound isolation. When a major part of your life is suddenly gone, you feel incredibly alone, unmoored. Having people physically there directly counters that isolation. It sends a signal, to your body and mind that you're not totally alone in facing this huge thing.
That leads perfectly into the next challenge, which is, okay, we show up, we're present, but what do? We feel this huge pressure to say the right thing.
Oh, yeah, the awkwardness.
But the article argues pretty strongly that just being there, your presence, actually matters more than finding some perfect words.
And this links right back to that physical, biological effect we were just talking about. There's a psychological concept called co-regulation.
Okay, break that down for us. Co-regulation.
Basically, it's how one person's calm nervous system can help soothe another person's agitated one, just by being near them.
Like tuning forks.
Sort of. Think of it like a gentle anchor. If someone grieving is really distressed, heart racing, breathing shallow, just sitting quietly near someone who feels grounded and calm can actively, physically reduce those stress responses in the grieving person. Your steady presence is literally helping lower their heart rate, ease their physical tension.
So wait, if I'm just sitting there quietly, maybe reading a book or folding their laundry nearby, I might be doing more good than if I'm desperately racking my brain for some profound piece of advice.
Absolutely. Your physical presence can be like a life raft when their internal world feels like pure chaos.
Huh.
And that's why the article suggests allowing silence. Let it stretch out naturally. Silence often feels awkward for us, the supporter.
Definitely.
But for the person grieving, it's often a needed space. A
Yeah.
space to just be without feeling like they have to perform or respond.
Okay, so if silence is often better, what about all those things we tend to rush in and say, those common phrases? The blog really cautions against these well-meaning platitudes.
Yeah, platitudes usually come from our discomfort, right?
Yeah.
We want to wrap it up neatly, make it less painful for everyone.
Right.
But phrases like, they're in a better place, or everything happens for a reason, or gosh, you'll find someone else someday. They just minimize the raw, immediate reality of the pain.
They kind of invalidate the feeling.
Exactly. They impose a meaning or a timeline that just feels false and dismissive when you're in the thick of it.
So what do we do instead? If we're not supposed to fix it with words, what is the function of our words then?
Validation. That's the key function, according to the article. Instead of trying to smooth over the pain or explain it away, you need to affirm it with simple, genuine phrases. Things like, that sounds so unbelievably hard, or I just can't imagine how painful this must feel right now.
So you're acknowledging their reality.
Yes, you confirm their experience without judging it or trying to change it. Grief needs to be witnessed, acknowledged. It's not a problem you solve for them.
That shift from fixing to witnessing, that feels really fundamental. Okay, let's talk practical stuff.
Yeah.
Instrumental support.
Yes.
When someone's mind is in that deep grief fog, just basic everyday life grinds to a halt. The blog says practical support is incredibly powerful.
It really is. And there's a big difference between offering vague help and offering actionable help. Almost everyone defaults to, let me know if you need anything, or just call me.
Right, guilty. Yeah.
And the person grieving almost always says, okay, thanks, I'm fine, or they just never call.
Why does that "do you need anything" offer usually fall flat?
It goes back to that cognitive overload, that grief fog.
Mm-hmm.
The person is already mentally maxed out.
Right.
They genuinely lack the energy, the clarity, maybe even the emotional bandwidth to figure out what they need, put it into words, and then actually make the call to ask for it.
So you're basically putting the burden of organizing the help back onto the person who's least capable of handling it right then.
Exactly. That makes perfect sense when you put it that way.
So the article stresses offering very specific, concrete actions instead. Could you give some examples of what actually works?
Think about the absolute basics for survival that are probably falling by the wayside. The best kind of help often requires minimal input or decision-making from the person grieving. So offer specific things like, hey, I'm coming over on Thursday afternoon to clean your kitchen and walk the dog for you. Or, I made lasagna. I'm dropping off 2 pans tomorrow. They just need to be heated up.
So focusing on food, chores, basic functions.
Exactly. The research mentioned shows that this kind of tangible help, running errands, picking up groceries, offering specific times for childcare, it's super effective in reducing their immediate stress load.
Right.
And that significantly improves their overall well-being in that moment. These seemingly small things lift a huge daily weight off their shoulders.
Yeah, it takes the whole organizational burden off them. Okay, so we've provided some immediate practical help. The next big challenge the article talks about is respecting their pace. We already established grief doesn't follow a neat schedule.
No, and the comparison trap here is just awful. We really have to avoid putting expectations on them or comparing them to others, saying things like, well, my friend was back at work in 2 weeks, or even just thinking silently, shouldn't they be doing better by now?
That judgment, even if unspoken, probably comes across. So how do we, as supporters, actually honor their pace and their unique way of grieving?
It really means accepting that their style is their style, and it's valid. Some people grieve outwardly, very loudly, they need to talk, they seek company. Others retreat, they become very quiet, process privately. We have to respect that space too, and not take their quietness personally like it's a rejection of our help.
So let them lead.
Yeah, the blog really emphasizes honoring their unique path, letting them lead the way, and understanding that acceptance, when it comes, doesn't mean they forget the person they lost. It's more about learning how to live alongside that loss, integrating it into their life going forward.
And tied into respecting that nonlinear timeline is realizing that support needs to be sustained. The world moves on so fast after the funeral, but the grief obviously doesn't just vanish.
Oh, this is such a critical point. Consistent long-term support is essential, but it's often where we as supporters tend to drop off.
Why is that? We get busy.
We get busy, life goes on for us. But psychologists point out that the absence of support months down the line can actually make the loneliness much worse and actively slow down the healing process.
Why does the loneliness feel even worse later on? Is it the contrast?
Partly. The initial adrenaline, the flurry of activity and attention right after the loss, that's all gone. The casseroles stop coming.
Right.
And then the deep, permanent reality of the absence really sinks in, often just as the support network starts to shrink. Consistency in support, even small gestures, communicates true, sustained care much more effectively than that initial intense burst.
So practically, what does sustained support look like 6 months, a year, even years later?
It often means being the person who remembers the tough dates. Mark the anniversary of the death, holidays, birthday's their birthday, the deceased's birthday. Mark those on your calendar.
And don't avoid mentioning them.
No, don't avoid them out of fear. You'll remind them or bring up pain. Trust me, they're already remembering. Instead, send a simple text or make a quick call, something like, "Hey, just thinking of you today. I remember how much Dave loves St. Patrick's Day."
Ah, okay.
It just acknowledges that the loss probably feels sharper on those days, and it gives them permission to feel whatever they're feeling and know that someone else remembers too.
That makes sense. Now, supporting someone through this kind of deep pain, it's emotionally heavy work for the supporter too.
Oh, incredibly.
The blog has a really vital section on self-care for the supporter. If we're trying to be that steady anchor for someone else, what kind of boundaries do we need to set so we don't burn out ourselves?
Right. The empty cup analogy is so true here. You absolutely cannot pour from an empty cup. You have to start by acknowledging your own feelings about the situation. The sadness, maybe frustration, the helplessness that often comes with witnessing deep pain.
So check in with yourself first.
Yes. If you ignore your own depletion, you'll eventually start to feel resentful or just pull away completely, which doesn't help anyone.
So what are some practical steps to prevent that caregiver burnout?
Setting gentle but clear and honest boundaries is key. It's okay to say something like, "I really hear how much pain you're in, and I want to be here for you, but I'm feeling really drained tonight. Can we talk more tomorrow after work?"
So honesty is important.
Honesty and kindness, both to them and yourself. And crucially, you have to schedule moments of restoration for yourself, totally separate from the grieving person. Go for that walk, listen to music, use a mindfulness app, whatever recharges you. Sustainable support requires protecting your own energy.
Okay, that's really important advice. Finally, the article helps draw a line, doesn't it, between the natural, although painful process of grief and something more serious that might need professional help. What are the signs of complicated grief? When is simple support not enough anymore?
Yeah, it's a crucial distinction. Intense grief is natural. But when the difficulty functioning in basic daily life persists for months and months, we're talking longer than, say, 6 months to a year, typically that raises a flag for complicated grief, or prolonged grief disorder, as it's sometimes called.
What specific signs should we look out for?
Things like persistent numbness, an inability to feel much of anything positive, intense, pervasive feelings of guilt or worthlessness related to the death, withdrawing from almost all social contact for a very extended period.
Okay.
And the most critical signs, the ones that need immediate professional guidance, are any thoughts of self-harm or just a profound ongoing inability to manage basic life tasks, getting out of bed, hygiene, feeding oneself lasting for months.
And the blog mentions that while resources like the Ava Mind app can be helpful, maybe for journaling or quick support between sessions,
Right, they can act as a bridge or offer tools for reflection.
they aren't a substitute for professional therapy or medical help when those really severe signs of prolonged suffering appear.
Exactly. The key is telling the difference between intense, difficult pain, which is a normal part of grief, and that total, lasting functional impairment, which suggests something more is needed.
So wrapping this up, what does this all really mean for us, the ones trying to offer support? I think the takeaway is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Your patient presence, just being there and offering consistent practical help, Those are profound gifts.
Supporting someone in grief isn't about having the magic words or solving their pain. It's really about walking beside them, truly listening, and just honoring their unique journey through it.
This was a really insightful deep dive into the compassionate guidance offered in that Ava Mind article. If you found these ideas helpful, we definitely encourage you to check out Ava Mind's full blog post. It goes into even more detail.
And we've put the link right there in the description for you.
And if you'd maybe prefer a condensed version or you'd rather listen to the blog content instead of reading it, those options are available exclusively in the Ava Mind app.
Right, and the app also has a whole bunch of other helpful tools, things for finding more moments of calm and reflection, like mood tracking and getting insights into your well-being, plus a lot of calming audio content, mindfulness exercises, sleep stories, guided meditations.
Plus, you can actually engage in real-time conversations, either voice or text, with Ava itself.
Yeah, and when you talk to Ava, you can just speak naturally, kind of like chatting with a friend on the phone. It's designed to be really conversational.
So explore the Ava Mind app today. It seems like a great resource, both for supporting yourself while you're supporting others.
We'll be back with more thoughts soon.
Stay curious.